Hello everybody, X here, back at it again to give you another very exciting video. And for today, I just want to go through and talk about these announcements that we gotten in this most recent Sony State of Play. And in that presentation, we got some recap of some things a little bit indie, some things that were third party, and some things that were actually first party. Looking at all of that stuff up in that State of Play, I was looking at that stuff and I was like, Sony, I was like, didn't you announce all of this stuff technically in your last quote-unquote showcase? Yeah, I think for most people, when they were going through and watching that State of Play, I think most people, if you were to give it like a letter grade, I want to say most people probably gave it around like a C-ish or so. It wasn't like there was like a whole bunch of stuff that was brand spanking new that we didn't know. Almost everything in that presentation stuff that it was updates on things that we kind of already got. So that kind of leads into the big question that I kind of want to go through and talk about in today's video is, where the heck are the first party Sony games for the PS5? Because beyond Spider-Man 2, we don't really know too much more though, but I'll leave it at that and we'll get into the thick of things here in just a bit though. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure you go and hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. All right, so let's look at the State of Play announcements and just skim over all the stuff that was recently announced in that State of Play. So first thing off, you had Baby Steps, which was like an indie game, is kind of based upon some real world physics, stuff like that. The game kind of gave me some good amount of laughs and stuff like that. It was a dumb but weird way to start off this presentation and keep it $150. Then you roll over to the Ghostbusters announcement, which is like one of the games that's actually coming out for VR. So pretty cool one to actually give you a reason to dust off that that VR set right there though. Then you had some Resident Evil stuff, which you had like Resident Evil 4, some DLC for that, and then you turn over and you get some VR stuff for RE4. So some good stuff, just nice little updates and stuff. Then we get an update for Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. We know that that's supposed to ideally be coming out around December-ish time or so. And then you got some Ghost Runner 2. And then this is where that part of the presentation where things kind of got a little bit crazy, because we had like what, the Earth collection, red, blue, silver of the PS5 plate colors, which this could almost bring up a whole nother can of worms, because we're expecting the PS5 revision or so to be happening sometime this holiday time, maybe. I don't know if plans change internally for this thing, if it's going to be happening in the spring of next year or whatnot though, but it's kind of interesting how they're dropping out all these new plates just around this time though. Okay, this is part of the presentation where I thought things started to kind of pick up a little bit more, at least for me personally. Then you went over to Helldivers 2, which was, they gave us a little bit of a better look on that game though, but shoot, those voice calls in the Discord, whatever they were using though, I don't know, that just didn't seem authentic. You can tell that was really script. Then you got some really cool looks at Spider-Man 2, which I know that's probably the big front runner for the big game that Sony's really gonna push this holiday when that comes out this October though. And then you look at, we got some DLC for Tales of Arise, Beyond the Dawn. So I was like, okay, interesting how this game is like a couple years old and it's actually turning around and getting some DLC. Okay, and then you got like Honkai Star Rail, which is, you know, the same people that made Genshin Impact over there is actually making the jump from console, so you don't have to play it on just PC anymore. So that's some good stuff right there. Phone Stars, the Splatoon 3 wannabe, you know, ripoff or whatnot though. Let's see how successful Square Enix is kind of with this one. All right, I'll give them that. And then the big baddie of them all, the one that actually got to close out the State of Play, that being Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We finally got an announcement, or the announcement of the release date in this presentation, and that being that it's going to be coming out on February the 29th. Out of everything that we got in this presentation, the biggest thing was probably from a third party, that being Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, with its release date being on the leap year, February 29th of 2024. So looking at all these games that were announced here in this Sony State of Play, every single game in here, I would say almost about 90-ish or so percent of all these games that were in here, we already knew about them at some given point, especially considering how a lot of these games were mentioned in that last PlayStation showcase. It wasn't a State of Play, it was a showcase. And normally, all these Sony ponies and everybody else get really hyped up about this, about those showcases, because that's where you kind of show out your big blowout of first party games, all your PlayStation studios, what they got in the kitchen cooking, and what we can expect within the next couple or few years. But if you were to go back and reflect back on that presentation, the biggest thing we got was literally Spider-Man 2. There was like some thoughts and some people out there saying on Twitter and whatnot, though, or I guess X now. I don't like that website name though, but they were out there saying, hey, they're actually holding back some stuff and they're actually saving that for what could be another showcase later in this year of 2023. Well, we're here now. It is a State of Play and it's not a showcase. And literally everything we got in this presentation is the same stuff we got in the showcase. So I'm like, yeah, no, that was definitely not the case though. So we know some games that might be, in the kitchen cooking, one of them being like the Last of Us multiplayer and whatnot though, which there was thoughts and some rumors about, hey, how one of the other studios over there at Sony was looking at that game and was like, no, this one ain't quite ready yet. You might want to put that in the oven just a little bit longer right there though. That might have been the reason why we hadn't seen something like that. And then there's obviously there's the Wolverine thing from Insomniac, but obviously they're already working on Spider-Man 2 at the moment though. Maybe there's going to be a Ghost of Tsushima 2, hopefully so, because we don't know what that studio is actually working on at the moment though. And just a couple or a few things here, rumor here and there though, but they just had not outlined anything yet. So literally once October comes, and once we have Spider-Man 2 in our hands and that's out the door, and then we're kind of looking down the horizon for whatever's coming next, we really don't know what's coming on at all for 2024. It's just a complete blank slate. Literally, if you look at other companies such as like Nintendo and whatnot though, you can look at Nintendo coming off of that most recent Nintendo Direct, and we know everything at least up to maybe summer or sometime of 2024, even though we probably thinking that there's going to probably be an upcoming, new console in the works that could be dropping as early as 2024, but it's never a point, at least in Nintendo's history, usually where, bear in mind, except for COVID being the exception though, where normally we'll be like, what is coming next? We kind of always have an idea or some kind of picture though, but with Sony, it's been kind of weird. We had a couple of few games, from year to year though, but it's probably the first time that we actually are just completely left in the dark. Sony, as well as also Microsoft, they rely heavily on the third-party markets, a little bit different from Nintendo, because Nintendo has to rely solely on their first party and their hardware and stuff. But if it weren't for Square Enix, oh shoot, I have no idea where this company would be at, because literally right now Square Enix is giving them phone stars. They just which that's going to come out here fairly soon. This is kind of thing to bridge the gap though. We just came off of the heels of Final Fantasy 16 that dropped out this past summer, and then now we know Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, which is going to have at least a few months of exclusivity right there, that's dropping out in February of next year though. So big major mainline Final Fantasy games dropping out within a span of 8 months or so. I mean, shoot, Square Enix is picking up a lot of slack for Sony though, but if you just want to just be purely focused on what kind of Sony games that are first party that they're going to come out with, we just don't know a thing. I don't know if it's Jim Ryan over here making the shot calls and whatnot though. I just don't understand this idea at all, because it is kind of a little bit concerning, especially if you want to go out and make a whole list of what games are actually exclusively on the PS5 that are especially first party games that are not even playable or compatible with the PS4, moved on to the what is now the current generation. It is a very few slim pickings. Spider-Man 2 is about to be the newest one added on the list right there though, but it's just something to really kind of sit down and really think about right here. I was I just honestly don't know what is in the back of Sony's mind right here. Obviously they got a lot of stuff cooking right now. We know the PlayStation Portal is supposed to be coming out. They dropped all these new accessories with the headphones and all of that stuff. We know that potentially a diskless drive or with a detachable disc drive is going to possibly be showing its head up in the market sometime soon and whatnot though. Some stuff kind of playing with the hardware side of things, but software wise, it's what are y'all doing over here, Sony? I'm I don't know. If anybody else has any better answers, y'all gotta let me know, because the fact that they went from these last two different showcases, from the showcase and the state of play, and we just don't know nothing outside of Spider-Man 2 in the future. Lo and behold, thankfully, we have Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I mean, it's a little daunting. I don't know what's going on over there at Sony. I might need to go over there, just knock on the door over there and be like, hey, y'all need some help? I got my application right here. I know y'all got to do things a little better than that. I don't know. For anybody out there that has any better idea than possibly me or somebody else, some insider leaker, I just want to hear what's going on in Sony. I think I've been on this long tangent for far too long though, but that's just kind of what I wanted to get my point across is it's we're about to enter some dark areas of Sony right here, some really dark areas though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below, what all do you think about this in terms of this most recent state of play? And if you think back to the PlayStation Showcase we had, is it a little bit alarming how we don't really know anything first party wise coming from Sony beyond Spider-Man 2, or is things gonna be okay? Yes, for some people that might be thinking Helldivers 2, that's technically like a secondary party-ish game, kind of like how Bayonetta is to Nintendo, so I wouldn't fully count that though. But yeah, it is what it is though. Spider-Man 2 is really the last thing we have, and who knows what's coming after that though. But yeah, let me know down in the comment section down below. But that's gonna basically do it in terms of today's video though. So if you really like it, make sure to hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.